Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Crafts video that talked about why D&D 5e is the 800-pound gorilla king of fantasy tabletop role-playing games, and why it's really defeating every single one of its foes in a very dramatic way. And today we're going to talk about specifically the section of technology, so how technology is an aspect of this. This video is part of a playlist. You don't need to watch the playlist to understand this video, but this playlist will give you more context if you want to watch more. Alright, so let's talk about technology in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and how Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition really dramatically uses technology to dominate the tabletop role-playing game industry, and why it really is the 800-pound gorilla king of tabletop role-playing game fantasy games, and actually every game, because fantasy is king. If you weren't aware, sci-fi games, all sci-fi games are like, hey, would you like to make a fraction of the sales you would make if you made this game as a fantasy? Would you like to cut your sales in half? Make it a sci-fi game. Like, that's how it works. Nothing sells more than fantasy and tabletop role-playing games. Call of Cthulhu is doing okay, and it's a horror game, but it's very much an outlier. It's just kind of an outlier of, they've been around for a long time, they're doing their thing, and they're moving, but Call of Cthulhu ain't beating Dungeons & Dragons. Not at the macro level, certainly not at the world level, certainly not in America, maybe in some scrub country, I don't know. Right, go check. There's plenty other. There's one channel in particular who would tell you the one country in the world where Call of Cthulhu matters, right? Like, so, okay, all right. So basically, how does Dungeons and Dragons really benefit massively from technology? Well, first and foremost, it's D&D Beyond. Like, we got to talk about D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond just got bought by Hasbro as a gift for Wizards of the Coast for $145 million. So let's talk about technology. So first of all, is there some kind of innovative web tech in D&D Beyond? Absolutely not. It is bog standard app code that could be written by any functional coding shop, in my opinion. Right? It's essentially Wikipedia with some fancy bits. Like, it is not great from an innovation perspective. It is rock solid, but so is Wikipedia, and that's free, right? So what is special about D&D Beyond? Well, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro put on their big girl pants and acted like a real tabletop role-playing game for 7 years, right? And for D&D Beyond, which I'm pretty sure is 5 solid years old now, right? They went to work, and they worked from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, right? And you're like, well, Scott, what's the big deal there? It's a big freaking deal in tabletop role-playing games because it doesn't really happen almost anywhere. I think it happens at Paizo, and it happens across the sea in Modiphius, right? Maybe Monty Cook. I don't even know if Monty Cook is still doing brick and mortars. Like, has an office, people go in, they put on, they dress in business casual, and they literally make tabletop role-playing games Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They drink coffee at the water cooler, and they actually function like a company. Because the vast majority, of companies of tabletop role-playing game companies are weekend nonsense. It's just what they're building in their garage on weekends. That is not the case with D&D Beyond, and D&D Beyond functions like no other mobile digital platform for tabletop role-playing games. It is the best in the world, not because it is innovative, not because it was coded well. It's not coded poorly. It doesn't crash or anything. Like, I've used it. It's fine, right? But it's just like Wikipedia, right? Like, it's Wikipedia with some fancy dice. Like, it's nothing innovative, but there is real labor, right, put into, here's the book on a schedule. We put these books into D&D Beyond, and that means that D&D Beyond, despite its lack of innovation, just from its actual persistence over 5 years of actually a real company actually building out a digital model of its product, it is by far and away the best mobile digital platform ever created for any tabletop role-playing game anywhere, bar none. Right? It is unmatched. It actually has a real character builder. All the pages are actually hyperlinked. It's very stable. It has significant, steady updates. It didn't get abandoned at any point. It's still going, and it's still chugging, and it's real. And that is unmatched anywhere in the industry. Okay, it shouldn't be as big a deal as it is, but it is a big deal, right? It's very real, right? And so, where else does Dungeons and Dragons actually show fantastic benefits from technology? The products, right? The books are consistently printed in huge numbers. I am convinced every single Dungeons and Dragons hardback is printed at numbers of 100. I think it's the only tabletop role-playing game in the world that does regular annual releases where every single hardback printed for the edition gets $100,000 plus in prints. I think it's too much for me to get into in this video. I probably should do a video on it, but I've been doing some math, and I am very convinced if they print a D&D book, they print minimum 100,000 copies, and I don't think that's matched anywhere in the world. And guess what? You're like, well, Scott, that's just printing. Printing is a big freaking deal in tech right now, and the reason why is March 2020, the world cracked in half, everything's on fire, and everything that used to work doesn't, except D&D. D&D has got the scale and the power to make sure that their stuff is printed and comes out right. And you want me to give you an example where it came out wrong? MCDM, right? So Matt Colville's pretending to be a real company, pretending to be an actual tabletop role-playing game producer. There is literally discussions going on for their last Kickstarter if people want stickers put in dozens of pages in the books, because the books came back from the proof, right? They didn't check the proof got bobbled, right? And now literally a Kickstarter book, it's pretend time, it's play time, it's not an actual product, right? The tech for their printing failed, right? And the reason why is Dungeons and Dragons has built real scale, real professionalism, and is the only company in the world taking its product seriously and being able to keep their dignity, right? Paizo's still printing, Paizo's doing it, but they surrendered and are now printing and are now beginning to say, we surrender to 5e, and you'll be able to get our game, our Pathfinder game, which used to be important, but now it's just a scrub indie like everybody else, and we make a 5e version because we can't actually compete on our own, right? They have bowed the knee to 5e. They are defeated by Dungeons and Dragons. Pathfinder is back in its place where it should be, second. Right? For one brief shining moment, there's a rumor that it was first in 4th edition. There's a lot of talk that maybe even that one period wasn't real. There's some good articles on that. You should check it out. But Pathfinder has been subjugated where it should be, right? So the tech is real. Printing is real. Here's the other one, minis. Dungeons and Dragons has real minis that are quite literally scaling bigger, better, boomer, right? Bigger, more out, like, there is an $800 mini product that comes out from Dungeons and Dragons once a year at least now, right? They will package everything there. They do minis for all their major books and all their major settings now, and you can buy $800 mega packs that contain one of each mini, or you can buy them as collectibles, and you can buy massive $250 scale dragons. Again, you don't find this on OSE, you don't find this on Knave, you don't find this on any OSR product, right? Because they don't have big league energy, they have little league energy, right? So technology is very, very real, and it really is supporting Dungeons & Dragons. Here's the other one, right? Dice, right? You're like, oh, Scott, they just make dice for all the games. No, they don't, right? There's Vampire the Masquerade. It only uses D10s, right? When you go to any shop, when you go to any of these, dice shops, Chessex, or any of them, innumerable ones who are making them out of mammoth bone and making them out of weird transparent resins with glitter, right? They use the standard Dungeons & Dragons set. D00, D10, D12, D20, D8, D6, D4, right? And you can find your little nonsense games, special dice, but it ain't gonna be page 1. the Dungeons and Dragons dice are going to be page 1, and they're going to be the majority of dice, and they're going to be the majority of sales, right? And so there's lots of places in the industry where products are being made, and they're like, oh, you can use these for any game, but trust and believe it's D&D first, and they will make it so that it works with D&D first, because Dungeons and Dragons is the 800-pound gorilla king of the industry, and it is unmatched for 7 different stanchion reasons. D&D don't play like everybody else. They are at scale. They are victorious. Bow down, right? Tech is one of them. Oh, that's my opinion. Love to hear your take. Let me hear in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.